So here we are. Welcome everybody to our live broadcast. I am Coach Buddy, super pumped and excited to be coming to you live. What we always know is when we do some live stuff, some bits and pieces often happen, and that's what keeps it exciting. I'm super excited about today for a couple of good reasons. First thing is because it's been a while since I've done a live video. The second thing is because our guest speaker is the expert in the field of finding your purpose, finding your true why. A little bit of a background on Justin is I remember when I first met Justin, very, very long time ago. I was 2013, I met Justin, and I was in construction, and I had a huge idea that I wanted to expand and stay in the construction industry, but just start doing outdoor, landscape areas, and come across Justin. He helped me finding, purpose, finding my why, and spent a lot of time with him building that brand. And for the apparent reason of, coming into a different field where you all know me as a health coach, a buddy up, I never pursued that career. But, I've always watched Justin evolve over the years through social media. We've reconnected, and here he is today, still talking about the best topic, in my opinion, that's going to help you build a brand, that's going to help you understand who you are as a person and help you really evolve in life. And that's all about finding your why. And I really want you to take close attention with what Justin's got to share. He's got some awesome things. You'll see in the little banner floating around. It's Brand Purpose Co. Write that down. Check him out. LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram. You name it, he's there, Justin Cooper. Even if you just type up Justin Cooper into Google. Google's our best friend these days. And take down some notes if you want. And what I really want to share with you is that this is just the beginning of a process over the next 3 weeks that we're going to really be unrevealing to you on how you can go deep inside yourself, tune into your intuition, and find your true purpose and the reason why you want to move forward in life and what you really want to do. So nothing else to say except sit down, relax while you're sitting back. You might have some popcorn, you might have pen and paper out, but I got Justin in the background. I'm about to put him on, guys. Please help me introduce Justin. Justin, can you hear me?
Hey, I certainly can, buddy. Can you hear me?
Absolutely, loud and clear, mate. Great to connect with you.
You too?
Yeah, absolutely. So I was just on live just before you jumped on and let everybody know we met. I was actually trying to work it out, but it was 2013 when we first met.
Wow.
Yeah. Jeez,
wow. Can you imagine that long, eh?
Did I have hair back then? Or did I still have no hair?
I can't remember. I've got Alzheimer's now. I can't remember. It's all good. It's all good. You haven't changed it. You haven't changed a bit, mate. You're still full of energy, full of vitality, and I love what you're doing. Encouraging people to really look after themselves and spread their wings. So that's awesome.
It's awesome, man. I appreciate that. And I was just saying earlier that I love what you're doing. Like really, not just out there. Let's build your website. Let's get the colors of a branding and all that. It's like, don't worry about all that. That can come secondary. Let's really look at you, who you are, your intuition, what you're feeling, why you want to do what you do, and really being able to help businesses, not just businesses, but individuals find that true reason why. And when you think back, and there's so much information on the internet these days, and they say there's this one thing that I hear all the time. I say, like, your why has got to make you cry, and then people often put their family, or if they've got kids, they put their kids as their reason why.
Yep.
And then it comes to the hustle of growing a business and getting out there and doing what they do. And then their family and their kids and all that become the reason why not to grind and to hustle.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think there's a disconnect there. And I think what you do with, really helping people discover that why is brilliant. It's brilliant.
Yeah. Well, look, that's so important because the way I see it, we've all got a really good handle on what we do and how we do it, right? We have to as business owners, as business people. But the one area that's often left behind is why. And for my money, the why has become much more important in the last 10 years. And the reason for that is that people really are asking deeper questions. You know, they want to know, what's the motivation? Why are you doing this? They weren't asking those kind of questions years ago, but they are now. And one of the great quotes I saw recently was from a motivational speaker in the States, a guy called Les Brown. When your why is big enough, you'll find your how. And that's so powerful, because the way things work is that, you know, we're thinking about, how can I put this together? How can I sell this? How can I express myself in a way that people get me? And traditionally what you do is you talk about how expert you are, how talented you are, how gifted you are. And really that's all a requirement, a minimum requirement to get in to a discussion with a client. What they really want to know is, what are you going to do for me? You know, how are you going to solve my problem? But the other thing they really want to know is, why do you do what you do? Can I trust you? So really the why is connected with trust. And the first tip I give, I'm going to give 5 tips today. Tip number 1.
Listen, Dustin, don't give them all at once. Bit by bit.
Bit by bit. All right, I'll eke this out. Don't want anyone to run away yet. All right, so the tip number 1 is people don't buy rationally. And this is really important, because we are sentient beings, right? What differentiates us, what we think differentiates us from the animals, is our ability for cognitive thinking, which comes from this part of our brain. In fact, every good business owner needs to have a brain where they can demonstrate these things, right? And here's a brain I borrowed from a friend of mine, from my friend Michael. He's very generously donated it to me tonight. And so most of us think from this part of the brain, right? That this is the thinking cognitive, what's called the prefrontal cortex, right? That's where we do all our rational thinking. But here's the kicker. People don't buy from there. They buy from here, the limbic region, sort of in the middle there. And they also buy from this saucy bit at the back, the reptilian center, right? Oh, this bit here, which is your flight or fight. So this equates to your intuition. It's like, do I trust this? Does it feel right? And this one is, can I trust that person? Am I falling in love with this brand? All of your beliefs are held in this section here. So I'll do away with the brain for a moment. So really,
just about that.
Yeah.
What made you understand about the brain and the left side, the right side of where you think and where you buy from?
Oh, that's a great question. Well, I'd been working in marketing for 25 years, and I'd been working for big businesses, and I'd started my own business. I'd marketed everything from shampoos to farm machinery.
Yeah.
And all points in between, helping accountants, helping small business owners, gyms, that kind of stuff.
Right.
So I felt like I'd done a lot of stuff in 25 years, right? And I just hit a brick wall. It was like, I can't hold this anymore, because I've lost my love for it. My why was not connected. And so I said to myself, what am I going to do? And I got interested in meditation as a side interest. And I had this epiphany that I was going to combine marketing with meditation. And I was going to do marketing in a new way. And I coined this new phrase, purposing. And I wrote a book about it. And I've launched this book, and it's called Marketing is Dead, Long Live Purposing, right?
Wow.
And it really is about how to build your business on your why, how to build your business on what you believe in, what you stand for, what you stand against. So really, that's my first recommendation on this idea of people don't buy rationally. They buy intuitively and they buy emotionally. So how do you define your why? How do you get to that? Because we're not naturally thinking about why. That part of the brain, the prefrontal cortex, doesn't get why. It's like a foreign land, right? It's like you're saying to your brain in Swedish, what's my why? And your frontal cortex says, I don't speak Swedish, sorry. But what it does is the what and the how very well. So you've got to go to a different part of the brain. And that's where I came up with this idea that maybe you should connect something that will disconnect you from that thinking brain. One of the ways of doing that is to meditate. And that's how I came up with this idea. But in terms of practical approach, I'll talk in a second about how to do that without necessarily meditating. But the kind of questions I'd ask your audience to ask yourself in order to connect with this why, in order to discover your why, don't think of it too much in terms of your love for your family. That's really important, right? But it tends to be a different part of our lives, unless it's a family business. And even then, when you're running a family business, you can have conflicts, right? Think of it in terms of why do I love the work that I do, right? And then ask yourself three important questions. What do I stand for? Number one. What do I stand against? And that's almost as important as the first question, right? What do I stand against? What do I want to see? How do I want to see my market changing? How am I going to make a difference? How am I going to change my market? And the last question is, what am I here to do for my customers? At a deeper level, not, oh, I'm here to sell them X, Y, I'm here to provide a better service. You know, that's all, yeah, that's great. But what's the deeper thing? What's the thing that really, and you get that from understanding what you stand for, because that's getting deeper into that deeper part of your brain, the emotional part of the brain. It says, that's why I love this, because I'm here to make some changes. I'm here to give people a unique experience. And this is what I want to do for people. And because I stand against this, I'm not going to do that anymore. So that's my tip number one. You know, really understand that people don't buy rationally. Ask yourself, last time you bought something, did you really buy it because of the rational thinking afterwards? Good example, a car, buying a car. Us blokes like to pride ourselves on being very rational. And we might have bought a new car and we'll say to our mates, well, I bought that because of the V8 supercharged engine, right? But what really happened was we walked in and they had an amazing cobalt blue finish on it, right? And they had leather seats, and you sat in there in that car and you felt like $1 million. That was the real reason that you bought it. You had a feeling about it as you got in the car. But later, after you've looked at the price, because you still need to be rational about it, right? It's no good going in and sitting in an amazing car and going, yeah, this is the car for me. How much is it? It's $180,000. Oh, my budget's 72. Clearly, there has to be rational thinking, but the rational thinking comes after the emotional and the intuitive. So just as you think differently when you buy something, remember your audience thinks in a different way. And that's why the why is important. It's like, what makes this company tick, or what makes this person tick? Why would I trust that person? And by communicating what you love about what you do, what you stand for, it's a really good start point to that. So that's tip number one.
I love it, Justin. It's so good. I love the way you articulated that, like making yourself like the third person, like looking in. Like I've got this vision, I've got the best product, I've got the best water, but then you think to yourself, well, why are you different to the next person? But I love that. Like, it's just relax, take a step back. Why are you doing what you're doing? Like, what's the purpose behind this?
Because people buy from people, right?
Yeah.
And they've got to like that person.
Yeah.
Even if you work for a massive company, right? And at some stage, there's an interaction between people. And it may, this day and age, it might be an interaction, you know, on a chat box or something like that. But you have to get them there in the first place. So what's the reason for this company existing? Why should you trust us? Well, this is because this is what we stand for. It's a really good place to start with that why. Yeah. So the second tip is you can't think about your why. So we go back to this meditation example, right? Your rational brain is hardwired to do two things really well. Think about what you're going to do and think about how you're going to do it. And it does it really well. It's really efficient. Can't do the why. So defining your why without thinking about it is difficult. So how do you do it, right? Well, the analogy I like to use is I was a big fan of a writer back in the day called Douglas Adams. If you've never heard of him, he wrote a series called The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. And in one of the made into films later, in one of the episodes, the hero of the story is this downtrodden Earthman called Arthur Dent. And he meets this guy called Ford, and Ford Prefect turns out to be an alien, right? And he saves Arthur's life by by teaching him how to hitchhike just before the Earth is destroyed, right? And on their they go on their travels, and Ford explains to Arthur, actually, you can fly. And he's like, what are you talking about? I can't fly. He said, yeah, sure. All you need to do, the trick is to throw yourself at the ground and miss, right? And in this story, sure enough, his mind is distracted by something on his way down as he's feeling like he's falling to his death. He spots something in the distance and he finds himself floating just above the ground. Then he remembers the ground and thud, he hits the ground, right? So for me, working with your rational brain to discover your why is a bit like aiming at the ground and missing. You have to distract your brain. So the reason I use meditation is that that's a great way of switching the rational brain off. But you can do it lots of different ways. You can go for a surf. You can go for a run. You can go for a walk. You can do a workout, right? When you're in the zone and you're doing something that you're used to doing, driving, for instance, having a shower, these things are done by rote. They don't require rational left brain thinking. You're in the zone now, and that's when some of the best ideas come to people, right? Particularly after a good sleep, right? So you go for a sleep and you wake up, you feel refreshed, you have your shower, and then bang, all of a sudden, the big problem you had yesterday that you had been running around your poor old rational brain, right? Which doesn't do a lot apart from yes, no, maybe. It does cognitive thinking. It doesn't have this creative thinking that your subconscious does. And when you have your shower, your ideas come through from your subconscious, and all of a sudden you are presented with a number of solutions to that curly problem. So that's the thing, you know, when you're looking at your why and you're asking yourself the question, what do I stand for? What do I stand against? And what am I here to do for my customers that goes beyond giving them a great experience, get great service, something a bit deeper than that. That's the time to do it when you're in the zone. Yeah. So disconnect. Don't sit with a piece of paper and a pen and try and work it out like we're taught at school. That's not how creative thinking comes in. That's not how you answer your why. So that's my second tip.
That's explosive tip. Like I reckon we could walk away now and just discover our why just by those two things. And I love what you said. Is like it doesn't necessarily have to be that you sit down like a yogi and meditate, but just you need to be at a relaxed state is what I took from that. So it could be whether you love fishing or love surfing or at the gym. Whenever you're at that relaxed state, this is when you have these epiphanies or you know.
And that's the key, because when you're relaxed, you stop concentrating. Yeah. But you see, currently our schooling system, and look, this is changing. I've got a couple of young kids going through school at the moment, and it frustrates the hell out of me because I did a lot of research on the brain. To answer your first question you asked me ages ago, I read about, read about 10 or 11 books on how the brain works. When I first started this journey about 8 years ago, when I switched from marketing to purposing. And so that was the key. It's when you're relaxed and you're not concentrating, that's when the ideas come to you. That's when the answers come to you. So we got to stop concentrating and we've got to start relaxing. And that's when you get the other tip is pick up the intuitive messages that come to you. Right? Don't consider them being nuts. I'm going crazy. These amazing, stupid ideas come to me about why I'm doing what I do. And the bigger picture is write it down, right? Write that idea down, because I guarantee you'll start connecting the dots. And it may be something that inspired you as a kid that you'd let go of. And I think you and I had this conversation all those years ago in 2013, right? Yep. Go back to a time when you were a kid and you were really inspired about something, and connect that to your business, because there's gold in there, right? That even though you've grown up now and you're a woman or a man, and you think, well, got to leave these childish things behind us. There's some gold in there, some dreams that we let go of that you can reconnect with. So that's the next thing. So like, as the ideas come, write them down. Don't discard them, because your rational brain is going to kill them. It's going to want to kill them, right? It's going to go, no, that's I didn't think of that idea, therefore it's not valid, right? It's called, we used to call this, when I worked for an American company, not invented here syndrome, right? So if we came up with an idea working in a subsidiary market, back in the day it was in the UK and I moved here to Australia, also worked for American companies here. If they hadn't come up with the idea, sometimes it was like, no, that's not going to fly. But if we manufacture it so it was their idea, then bingo. And I'm sure it's the same problem with people working for Swedish companies in America. You know, it's not an American thing. It's just head office thinking. And we got accused of the same thing when I worked for an Australian global company, and we had people in America going, how about this idea? And I was like, I was more sensitive to it because I'd been on the receiving end. So your rational brain is going to try and close it down. Don't let it close it down. Write the answers down, and then you can work them out what they mean later. If you discard them, you're just left with the really boring stuff, which is, I've spent ages working on this, therefore I'm experienced. I've got a great team, and we've got a great product. It's like, oh, guess what? All your competitors can probably make that same claim.
Yeah.
But your why, that's unique.
Yeah.
There's something in your makeup, how you were raised, or a dream you had as a kid that transferred into your business. Or if you're in a role working for someone else, there's a way you do things that's unique to you. And that's what people are looking for. Yeah. So my fourth tip is remember what you love about your work. You said earlier, family. Family is so important to us, right? Particularly during these times, right? COVID has forced everyone to reassess what's important. And I actually think, whilst it's a horrible thing that's going on in the world, in the long term, it's shifting us into a new level of thinking. It's going to make why even more important. And if you're running a business and you're trying to sell stuff, guess what? The why is going to really come into its own. So connect the same love that you have for your family to the work that you do. There's something in there that you absolutely love. And guess what? If you hate everything you do, then it's time to move on.
Right? Love it.
You have to think about something that you really love. And most people, because I've worked with people who've transitioned from doing one job to another, they say to me, can you guarantee me that if I go through this process with you that I'll still be working at my job? And I said, no, I can't guarantee that, because you're going to discover some stuff about yourself and you might make the valid decision that you need to move on. Now, I'm not going to suggest anyone just drop their job and start something new that's unproven. You transition, right? But those people that have made the move, they're like different people. They are filled with love and excitement for what they do. So it's about connecting with that. They're loving their why. And go back to that first comment by Les Brown. When your why is big enough, you'll find your how.
Yes.
So find out what you love about what you do, and then connect it to how you're going to help people make a difference. So your why connects with their why. And this is about attracting the right tribe. And this is the difference now. You're not selling to someone. You're sharing what you believe in, and it's up to them to decide if they feel an affinity with that, if they're aligned. And alignment is one of the key foundations of purposing as opposed to marketing. It's alignment. When you're aligned with your purpose, with your why, and your customer or your prospect is aligned with your why, you have little baby whys, right? The two get together and there's magic. It happens, right? And people absolutely connect. So that's a key. You've got to connect with that love of what you do, and then it becomes inspirational. Now, someone said to me recently, I don't know what you're smoking, but I want some. Because they could see that I wasn't smoking anything. I was just high on what I love doing, right? And what do I love doing? I love seeing the light come on for people, helping them discover their truth of who they are, because that's the foundation point for really connecting with your why and going, well, hell, if that's who I am, I'm just going to do this. And I'm going to do it differently. And I'm going to do it with love. And the more they connect with that, the easier it becomes for their tribe to find them. So final tip, be yourself. Everyone else is already taken. Right?
Oh, you nailed it.
Famous quote attributed to Oscar Wilde. Unfortunately, there's no proof you ever said it. Someone else came up with that, and it was Oscar Wilde, famous writer, lived back in the late 19th century, early 20th century. Brilliant writer. He wrote something along similar lines, which is about discover yourself, right? It's critical. I shared that quote, be yourself, everyone else is already taken. I've seen it many times. I shared it about it would have been around that time that you and I first met, 2013, 2012. Might have been a year or so earlier. It was around about that time that I sort of discovered my purpose, or refined my purpose. Yep. I put it out, and it's the only thing I've actually shared that's gone ridiculously viral. That's because we need to hear that now. We need to hear this thing that reminds ourselves that we are unique, and it's okay to be unique. Yeah. Yep. And where does that start? It starts by understanding why you're here. Why you're here in a business sense. That's what I deal with. Now, why you're here on planet Earth? Why do you exist? I can't answer that one. That's a much bigger question. That's possibly a very deep discussion that go way beyond the bounds of this. But what I'm interested in just helping people discover is, why do I do the work that I do, or why do I do the work that I'm about to do? Yeah. That's the question I really help people with. Get them excited by what they're doing, and connect with themselves and connect with the work they do, and be proud to be themselves. Because at the end of the day, it's the freaks that we want to discover in life right now. It's the people that are a little bit kooky, a little bit different. It's not line and length, as they say in cricket parlance. Yes. We're looking for a bouncer, right? We're looking for something that's really going to get people to sit up. And that does not mean doing things crazily for the sake of it, right? Again, that's a bit of a false tip. It's about reveling in who you really are. Yep. And translating that into what you do, and then making that connection and sharing that with people that you want to work with. Because at the end of the day, it's the best way to avoid tire kickers. Yeah. And who's responsible for creating tire kickers? We are. Ourselves. Why do we create tire kickers? Because we haven't shared our why. We haven't shared that deeper reason why we do the work that we do. We haven't shared an I believe statement as it relates to our business. Not I believe in world peace, but that could work if you were working for a world peace organization. But for most people, it's I believe X because I want to help Y. So for instance, my why statement, which is constantly being refined, it's not set in stone, right? Would be something like, I believe we all have a deeper reason for being. That when we connect with that, we do our best work. And I'm here to help people discover the truth of who they are, translate it into their brand or their business, and make it easier for them to attract people that desperately need their help. And that's it. That's all it is. It's about being yourself, offering the gift that you were born to give, so that you can help people who really need your help. Because then it's not an ego play, right? It's not, I'm beat my chest, I'm the best at this, you got to come and buy from this. It's like, no, I believe this, I'm here to do this, I'm genuine in that belief. If you need that kind of help, these are the problems I solve, because that's another question we need to answer. But now it's being answered from a deeper place, right? Because the problem you solve is directly related to the reason you're here. Can you feel how more authentic that is than coming up with 15 possible problem statements that, old marketers used to do? Yeah, there's a list of 15 problems that people in my area solve. It's like, yawn. Tell me something about you. Tell me what makes you tick. Because then I can decide as the buyer whether I want to work with you. And guess what? You share your why, you'll make a deeper, longer connection. And those people that come and work with you will get you. They'll ask you on a podcast 6-7 years later, and you go, goodness me, it's Buddy, he wants me to come and talk. Because we built up a trust between us. Because I showed up as me, you were prepared to show up as you during that period we worked together, and we formed a bond. And therefore, we could then go out and do what we do with much more confidence in a much more genuine and authentic way.
Absolutely. And that's what I absolutely love. I love when we first met, how you presented yourself, what you said, but more importantly, all these years on, I've developed and grown. And, talking to you, I can hear in your language and, what you've developed in your own company and your own brand and what's happened in all those years. And this is the thing, is that a lot of people, when they're looking to get started, they hold themselves back because they're looking for the right plan. They're looking for the right moment. They're looking for luck. They're looking for money. Like, they're looking for all the things that are not associated with that one thing that's just going to tick them off to go boom and propel forward. And it's like what you're saying about changing careers. Like I look back and, I was at the age of 30 when I changed careers. So my own personal experience, like everybody sees me now that's met me in the last 3 to 4 years. Oh, you're just born for this. But it was funny because when I was 20, 21 years old, 22, running my construction business, oh, you're so great at this. You're just born for this. But every single time, it's funny that I had an attachment to the reason why I was doing what I was doing. And today, it's not the product that I'm attached to. I could be selling anything. It's why I do what I do. And something you said earlier is that your vibe attracts your tribe. And my vibrating level is attracting the right people towards me. And I have no disconnect. I don't think to myself, well, why isn't Justin buying my product and service? Why isn't Justin joining my team? Well, you know what? He's just not meant to join my team. He's not the right person for me. He's not the right fit for me. So I think we really got to get out of our head, take those 5 tips that you've put, discover what that means for us and why we do what we do, and just jump. Let me put it that way. Just jump. Like don't worry about the right plan. Like you get it wrong to get it right. Just go with the flow.
And that's really important. And picking up on what you've just said, it's a heart-to-heart conversation. That's what you want to have with people, a heart-to-heart conversation. And when you're in a situation where you really understand why you're doing something and you've got a love for it, as you say, the vibe just comes out, right? And it becomes infectious. People say, I don't know what you're on, but I'm having some. I'm on happiness, mate. That's all it is. It's just a really strong feeling that I'm doing what I should be doing, number one. Number two, I'm loving what I'm doing because it aligns with my beliefs and values. Number three, I'm getting amazing results because the right people are coming to me. I'm the right person for them. They're the right person for me. And therefore, it's no longer a transactional relationship.
Yeah,
it's much more than that. Of course, there's an exchange of dollars somewhere along the line, but it doesn't start with that, right? If you don't lead with your why, if it's all about what, then time after time, the prospect's going to try and knock you down on price because they're not feeling it. And so many times I've had this conversation with people. I go, oh, I did everything for this person. I gave them a great price. I delivered on the product and they still weren't happy. And I say, well, did you actually share with them what you stood for, what you believed in before you started working with them? Oh, no, that's not relevant, is it? It's very relevant because at the end of the day, you don't pick your life partner from a menu at the restaurant, right? There's some interaction that goes on and you work out if you're vibing with this person. It's the same thing when you're buying something, right? The best experiences you have when you buy something that works for you is when you've connected with that company, with that person. And people use this all the time. Apple's a great example. Steve Jobs created a connection to a whole mass of people that felt like they were ostracized, right? They were the geeks. Wow. And he connected with them and just made Apple was their product. And they wouldn't use any other product. This is back in the 80s and early 90s, right? Back in the day. And now, of course, everyone gets Apple. But it was founded on that really important belief that there's something important here. We want to make something really special. And I did a talk the other day on purpose. And one of the things that I did is I put up Apple's original purpose statement when Steve Jobs was around, and I put up their current purpose statement or mission. In fact, it was a mission statement. Right. Chalk and cheese. And I said, which one do you prefer? Everyone preferred the original one because over the years, Apple's become more and more commercial. They've got more and more products. And their mission statement was all about the products. And the original mission statement that Jobs put together was about what he wants to do for people.
Love it.
And that's it. That's the big idea. What do you want to do for your people? That goes beyond selling a product. It's much bigger than that. Simon Sinek is another guy I'd highly recommend. He wrote a book called Start With Why. So if you want to know more about this why, there's a great little TED talk called The Golden Circle. It's an old talk now. It's probably 2010 or something like 2009. It's quite old now, but a lot of people haven't seen it. Yeah. Check it out. Simon Sinek TED Talk, Start With Why. Brilliant. And he sums it up beautifully. It's like those companies that only talk about what or why, what or how what they do, they really tend to have a short lifespan. But companies that start with their why, bingo, they're the ones that stand the test of time. Because not only is it easier to sell to people, and then it's not even a sell, it's a welcoming in, but your people, this is so important. People come first, right? So Simon Sinek's the one that says, look after your people first, then your customers, then your shareholders.
Yeah.
Very important, right? But up until quite recently, all these gurus were saying, oh, look after the shareholders first, right? Don't worry about paying the guy that's stocking the shelves or making the product. Don't worry about them. Pay them minimum wage. No, it fails, right? It fails. People will vote with their feet. They'll leave. So the why is not only about making a connection with your customers and winning the right customers, it's about making a connection with your people. And even if you don't employ anyone, you might have a business partner, same thing. Share your why with them. It's very important.
I love it. I love it. And Justin, I could stay on all night with you talking about this, and the comments are just coming through. People, like Sandra said earlier, she said, what a powerful call, just what she needed to hear. Alignment with your why, like her best taking was just to align with your why. And I think we hear this often, but the way you've really put this into perspective today by, a 5-step process, people can really take that away, apply it into their day-to-day living, whether they're building a team, whether they're building their own personal brand. And I always say to people is that build your personal brand because you take yourself with you. So it doesn't matter whether you go from construction, hairdressing, nutrition, fitness, doesn't matter. You take this people, like I look at Justin, you could be in a completely different business. I want to do business with you because of the person that you are, not because of the business you're attached to. And I think that's so important. But I'm looking forward over the next couple of weeks as we continue to dwell in.
Well, next week will be about taking the mask off. And this is a hot potato. It's about the person that you really are and connecting that to your business. And just taking that mask off that we often wear because we think that's how we need to be. This is really important. So that's the next chat.
Love it. Love it. So we'll be tuning on live, guys. Justin Cooper, check him out. You can see at brandpurpose.co. Is that right, Justin?
That's the one. Yep.
On LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, you name it. Website.
Instagram is Justin JG Cooper. Slightly different, but yeah, same guy.
Exactly. But yeah, we'll be tuning in as we go, guys. And feel free to reach out to Justin, ask any questions. Always happy to help. And guys, like we always sign off, love to all and peace. See you, Justin.
Wonderful. Thanks, mate.
See you, mate. Bye-bye.